listening to people that would show them that our culture is beautiful. Then I seen my father tell stories when I was 18. And I thought that's what I like to do. So all those years I've been telling stories that were passed on for me from my elders, and I also learned to make my own. The story that I want to tell you is called the Eagle Story. And it's a quick story. Y'all got eagles on here, right? You got eagles on here? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Well, it's a story that took place a while ago. There was a man who had his own little place. He had his own piece of property, and he was well kept. He had a little house, and he had some gardens over here that he would tend to, and he had his animals over here that he would take care of. Every day, that was his task. Take care of his garden, take care of his animals. The best prize on his property were these two eagles that sat in a tree behind his house. He really loved them. Every spring they would come back home. Every fall he would watch and wait for them to leave their homes, going down north where it was warmer weather. But every spring he'd be out there taking care of his animals, taking care of his garden, watching the sky for those eagles. It was no different this year. He was out there watching the sky for those eagles to come home. All of a sudden, one day as he was tending his garden, he looked up in the sky, and there he saw these two beautiful eagles come flying home. And he was really happy. His heart was filled with joy. He took out his tobacco and he prayed to the Creator, thanking him for bringing those eagles home. Every day he'd get out there giving thanks, and every day he'd watch those eagles. This year he was watching them, and he thought in his mind, they're acting a little different. They're a little strange. And he thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could see babies come out this year? One day as he was tending his garden, he watched the mother take off flying, and she was this big, beautiful eagle. And she flew and flew until she disappeared from his eyes.
Thank you.
And he waited and waited for her return. The nighttime was coming. He thought she should be back, but she never came home. All of a sudden, his heart was really sad, knowing or feeling that something terrible had happened to that mother eagle. The next day when he got up and put down his tobacco, he looked up in the nest, and there was the dad just sitting alone, and he knew something must have happened bad to the eagle, the mother. 4 days he sat out there watching, taking his tobacco, praying hard, asking the Creator to bring her home, for her to be safe. After 4 days, he seen the dad take off. Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he wanted to see what happened to his wife, but he took off flying. And he watched and waited, and all of a sudden he disappeared. And he watched and waited for his return. At the end of the day, as the night came back, nothing had come home. Nobody had come home. His heart sunk with sadness, knowing that something terrible must have happened to both those eagles that he loved so much. He prayed so hard. He got up the next day and he prayed hard again, looking up into the nest. Nobody was there. After a couple of more days of watching the sky, he started to think, what if there's babies up there? They're going to die without my help. So he decided to take his chance, and he climbed up that tree. He looked inside the nest, and there were 2 eggs sitting up in that nest. He stuck those eggs in his pocket, and he climbed back down out of the tree. When he got back down out of the tree, he held those eggs up to the nest and up to the sun, and a great big smile came on his face. Look at that. Not a crack, not a break. This is great. And all of a sudden, his smile turned into a frown. He started to thinking, how am I going to hatch these eggs? All of a sudden, it came to him. He ran over and he put those eggs with his chickens in their nest, and he watched and waited. And sure enough, they took their turn sitting on those eggs. And one day he watched those eggs breaking through, and all of a sudden those babies came peeking out. And as they came peeking out, looking around, all there were, all over the ground was all these white chickens just packing up food. After a couple of days, they thought, hey, that's us. And they got down and started packing up their food. After a couple of days, the one brother looked at the other brother and he said, you know, I think we're something different than these other birds. He said, what do you mean? Be a chicken. This is our family. Be a chicken and be happy. Every day they would get down, pack up their food, and every day they would have the same argument of not being about those other birds. Until one day, they were all packing up their food. All of a sudden, the one brother seen this big rooster get up on a stump, throw out his chest, kick out his head, and yell, ah, 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 ah. That little guy said, hey, I can do that. He jumped up on a stump, he said, ah, 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 ah. He was really good. He ran to his brother, check this out. Ah, 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 ah. He said, you're great. You're a rooster. I'm a chicken. Let's be happy. Every day, that guy would get up on his stump, sing his song, get down, and he'd go off eating their food. And they were happy. Until one day, they were all packing up their food. And as they looked up in the sky, the whole sky turned dark. And it was a whole group of these eagles flying by. And as they flew by, one eagle stayed up there just flying around in a big old circle. And that little guy thought he's looking right at me. And he went to his brother, he said, brother, I still think we're something different. He said, be a chicken and be happy. Come on, aren't you hungry? Let's eat some more. The next day, he got up, he sang his song, he started eating. All of a sudden, they heard this big old laughter from out in the woods come their way. So they decided to go check it out. And as they followed that song back into the trees, way back in the woods sat this huge eagle sitting up in the trees, just laughing, just hard. They said, what are you laughing at? He said, I'm laughing at you two. What are you laughing at us for? He said, I'm laughing at you because I heard the two eagles wanted to be chickens, and there you are. And that one brother threw out his chest and he said, I'm no chicken. Ah, 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 ah. That eagle laughed so hard he fell out of the tree. And as he landed, he said, you guys are eagles. They said, no, we know what we are. And they turned to walk away. And as they walked away, that old eagle yelled out to him. He said, you come back here when you're ready. I'm going to tell you what you are. I'm going to show you what you are. As they walked back home, the one brother looked at the other brother. He said, did you hear what he said? He said, what? His brother threw up his wing. He said, stop. We're just chickens. And that's all we're ever going to be is chickens. And we're going home. And they went home. The next morning, that little guy got up real early, jumped up on his stump, did his song real fast, real soft, jumped down and took off running out to the woods without his brother. He went right back to that tree. And as he got back there, that old eagle looked at him and he said, I thought you'd be back. He said, I was just out packing up some food. He said, no, you came back to find out what you are. He said, no, I know what I am. He threw out his chest again. That eagle said, stop. He landed. He went down and landed by. He said, you're that rooster. He said,